Most men think a hard period is a time to survive, but I'm telling you, it's actually the biggest opportunity to thrive. When everything feels like it's falling apart, that's when the door to real power opens, if you know how to walk through it. In this video, you're getting a raw, behind the scenes look at a hot seat from our private coaching group. You'll see exactly how we take crisis and turn it into transformation. This isn't fluff. This is the real path high achieving men are using to lead again, reconnect emotionally, and rebuild trust, even if she's cold, distant, or checked out. All right, so basically, today's theme, or this week's theme, is thriving under pressure. Now, thriving is a big theme. In everything that we do here. This is why I help so many men reconnect, even after fact, when all hope is lost, right? And I put that in quotes because that's just like the common thought behind everything. This is what helps you maneuver and dance, whoa, in the shit of it all. This is what allows you to break free from the mental binds you back. Now, oh, let's get that up here. Now, what do I really mean by thriving? Well, when the bad is happening, you'll always hear me say it's gold. Now, I want to know, and you guys could like raise your hand or whatever, and if you guys could, show your camera, that'd be amazing. That way we can all see that there's other people on this call. But if you guys could, whether it's a reaction or whatever on Zoom, if you guys can all kind of, raise your hand and just be like, yes, I have thoroughly been confused how you see any good in all of the shit that's happening. What's up? What's up, Mark? Yes, you.
I'm raising my hand. Oh.
Yeah. So it's because of the thriving mindset, right? The reason why I say it's gold is because the moments that we don't think are good or have any importance are the most important moments. This kind of goes into that dopamine cycle that we all get hooked on. Like, you guys will hear me. I'll literally say there are peaks and valleys and you have to weather the storm. This too shall pass. It will. Okay. As long as you keep plugging, as long as you keep going, right? This too will pass. Okay. And everyone, especially after they acknowledge the situation, especially as you start having conversations and you feel good about conversations, right? You might see some giveaway. You might see some like calming of everything. Everyone always goes, man, these are huge wins. Like, these are amazing wins. Like, we're winning. And then, because I've seen it happen in time and time again, I'm like, yes, but let's be prepared. Okay. And then that little valley comes and everybody always goes, holy shit, I don't know what's happening. We start going into our own mental spiral. And then we start missing all of the great opportunities that we can take. When you're at that bottom part where you're like, oh man, I'm not connecting with her. Oh man, she's so angry. She's so stonewalled. I can't get 2 cents in. Oh man, you know, that's when things matter the utmost because your seeds that you plant, the actions that you take, speak 10,000 times more volume than if things go good. If things go good, your wife is going to be like, it's because, you know, here's why. It's because, he's getting a little action, or I hugged him. I wasn't so hard on him. We'll see his true colors come through. But then when she goes, you know what, I'm fucking over this. Like fuck this, right? And let's say you like back down, or let's say you backpedal, or let's say that you kind of like, okay, I guess I'll give her space, right? To her, remember, she's misinterpreting what you're doing. And I learned this in marketing, like where this all clicked. Because everybody is interpreting and reading, just like I told you guys about the micro voice, right? When you're reading in your head, you're actually speaking it on a subatomic level when they put really powerful microphones to your vocal cords. Everybody filters reality through their own lens, okay? Everything, right? For instance, I can go over, and context is important, right? I can go over and smack my brother on the back of the head, and someone might be like, he's just saying hi. Another person might be like, I can't believe he just assaulted him. And then another person might be like, they're probably brothers, and he probably did something fucking stupid, right? Same action, three different interpretations, and a picture speaks 1,000 words. So you can interpret even more, right? So in those moments when things are supposed to be negative, those are the moments that you guys need to like lean into it. I think I told Mark, and I think I told both Marks this. There's three Marks. I think I told two of you guys this, and maybe Mike as well. But I'll do a little quick recap. When I was getting really into boxing, because of my wrestling background and because of my football background, I knew, especially with football, like when that season comes, everyone's like, oh, dude, I'm gonna have the worst headache for about 2 weeks, maybe a week, right? And you want to lean into that. So when I started boxing, I was like, okay, I just got to get fucking punched. I just got to get one punch in. Someone has to fucking rock my bell and I'll be good. So I leaned into that process. That's why I say you guys got to lean into that when she's pushing back, right? So, and you got to be tactful, right? Obviously, don't go in guns blazing. That's why I tell you guys, you got to be marksmen, right? You got to wait for your shot. So, anyways, when I started boxing, I was like, okay, I have to spar. And so I got some of my buddies together. We were in the ring. Coaches were, overseeing everything to make sure that we didn't, fuck things up. But I was just like, all right, let's get that first punch in. And, I was doing good with combos. I was throwing them. I was landing my shots. I had a much bigger reach because whether you guys believe it or not, I'm about 6'7". So I have a really big reach. So I was kind of doing well. But then he just kept landing jab after jab. I don't know where they came from. Just, I remember my head snapping back and I was like, whoa, what was that? And one after the other. And I knew how to deflect. I knew how to just take a step back. I could have easily just moved around. But I got so caught up in my own head that I couldn't see the tree from amongst the forest. I could not see in front of me. I just kept spiraling, or popcorn braiding, as you guys have heard me. Just kept spiraling. Like, what the hell, Noah? What the fucking absolute boom, a right hook. That was a haymaker. My friend had something to prove, I guess. right? And I just started gushing blood. But it was in that moment that most people tend to get afraid. But I knew because of wrestling, like when I got slammed for the first time and got the air taken out of me, holy shit. When I got laid on my ass in football, just in life in general, when we lean into those resistances, especially as men, as we build, as we thrive, we could do it for work, right? But the emotional aspect is a little scarier. So with all that blood coming down on my face, all I remember is just smiling, like a cocky, almost hysterical smile. Like just like even just thinking about it now, I'm just getting giddy about it because it's just like I love physical sports. And so my friend said that that was the craziest thing he's ever seen because when I'm supposed to be like, oh, because I was new to it. And he had been boxing for he did Muay Thai, but he did Muay Thai for 10 years. He did boxing, like actual boxing for about 4. So he thought like he got me good, you know? And he said like he's been fighting, but that was the craziest he's ever seen anybody. Because when you're supposed to be down, right, in those troughs, that's when you're supposed to smile and lean into it and be like, good. Because I remember in that moment, I was like, all right, cool. This is nothing. The worst is to come. And it fucking hurt. I'll tell you that. Your nose doesn't just rupture, like just gushing blood out of nowhere. And I didn't even feel the blood. I just felt like something, you know, dripping actually off my chin, but I didn't even feel anything besides my jaw hurting really bad, my head kind of hurting, but I just like leaned into it. And that thriving aspect through all of this is so important, regardless of what happens, regardless of relationship, status, or title. There should be a conviction, an energy about you while you're going through this. Like, good. And not just like, because Jocko's cool, but not just like a Jocko will, it's like, good, or however his deep voice gets. But it's more of like bring it on. Like, let's do this. This is what I've been practicing for. This is what I've been sparring for. This is what I've been imagining. This is part of that mental acrobatics that I tell you guys about, where it comes to everyone does the whole manifestation thing. And even in psycho-cybernetics, they kind of talk about it, but they miss the deepest part of it. When you're envisioning the good life, right, you also have to envision the shit. So when I tell you guys to envision like your dream house, right, you're like 80, 90, 120 years old into the future. All your loved ones are around you. You're in a certain house in a certain place, but also remember that squeaky floorboard. Remember the draft of the house. Remember how claustrophobic it feels, how expansive it feels. Remember you're almost hitting your head on the ceiling because it just kind of dips down. You have to incorporate all those little pieces. So when that trough comes, you're prepared for it. You're like, oh, I literally saw this. It's kind of like when baseball players say it all the time, basketball players say it all the time, golf, people who golf say it all the time. They literally envision the good, bad, and the ugly of whatever tournament, match, whatever thing that they are about to enter into. And they have been doing it for weeks. I forgot the pianist, but a very famous concert pianist barely did any physical practice. He did 80% mental practice. I think they even talk about it in psycho-cybernetics. But he barely did any physical practice. Physical practice maybe accumulated to like 20%. But it was all up here in the mind. The good, bad, and the ugly. You missing the keystrokes. You not being able to stretch your fingers out to hit every chord that you need to hit. That's why when things get into this, right, the trough, right, is everyone had peaks. And it's crazy. You can hear them on the hot seats. Everyone's like hitting peak after peak, right? Like wins. New guys are like, oh, cool. Then weeks later, new guys like wins. Other guys like, oh, it's kind of stagnant, like we're good. And then it gets to the valley. And now a lot of people are in the valley, and that's okay. And it's part of the process. Even us in our daily lives go through mental highs and mental lows. But your character, the true you, the true test of that hero, the true, the true of everything that you practice, the abundance mindset, man of steel mindset, making sure that you know how to have proper conversations and actively listen with your wife, knowing how to give your opinions or suggest something to her, planting those seeds, growing that garden. It's in that space of frustration. That's where truly successful people thrive. And you guys have probably heard me say, like, frustration doesn't anger me anymore, or it doesn't piss me off in any sense of the word. I actually get quite excited, like very much so. You know, like for instance, I went over to Southern Florida last weekend to spread the word, try to rub elbows, and that was difficult. I was like, man, how am I supposed to operate within this type of realm, YouTube-ish area? Like, you know, I'm a dude from Southern California who decided to join the military because, you know, I wanted to be a doctor, and then I felt a greater calling, and then I stumbled into this, right? Because I felt like this was a greater calling and a greater purpose when I was working on other businesses and stuff, and I was just helping people, helping friends, helping anybody who just came to me. And then over the years, it grew into this, right? And holy shit, it's scary, it's hard, but I get excited. Like in those moments, you have to thrive. And I know each and every one of you knows exactly what that feels like, because each and every one of you is very successful in life. Okay. For instance, Mark M, did something crazy, launched the ETF. He knows what that trough feels like, but getting excited on building that love child, that labor of love. Mark G, highly successful, right? I know climbing up that rank, climbing up those ladders, you definitely had those days where you're like, holy shit. But then you got excited because you're like, this is what I'm doing. This is my calling. This is my purpose. Daniel, you're a lawyer. You help people. I know while you were trying to figure out business and you're like, what the fuck do I do? You got excited too amongst wanting to pull out your hair. That's where the real meat and potatoes is made. That's where the real nitty gritty happens. And that's what is the real test of what men can do, men do, and what men have always done. You know, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate in recent society. A lot of men have been told, like, you know, pat on the head, like, it's okay. You know, you can always try next time. But sometimes, yeah, that may be true, but you didn't try enough, or you didn't learn. You gave up a little too soon, which is different, I'll point this out, than a tactical retreat, right? Knowing when to take a step back is strength in of itself, right? Because you don't want to fucking die on your own sword, right? You want to know when to take a step back and live for another day. And that's why I have that. This is what success looks like. This is how to have a successful mindset, because every one of those things is a win. And the reason why I say this is fucking gold, even though I know, trust me, I was there. Like in the moment, you're like freaking out. Your amygdala response is going crazy. Like you can't see left from your right. But in that thriving moment, in that moment, your brain is working on something. Your body is working on something, and your spirit is working on something. And so in those moments, when you can say, fuck yeah, let's do it. It's those moments that make you into the man who you know you are, who you've always been and your family is desperately asking for. Now, what's even cooler, in my opinion, is in those peaks or in those troughs, right? Those troughs, when you plant those seeds, well, that actually starts to begin, and this is why this is a whole process. This is why I base it off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, that starts to begin to build up you in the best way possible. That's where your self-esteem is really formed because you're doing something that I don't even think you guys might be realizing you're doing. You're doing something that's admirable. And so if you go look at the esteem, right? If you go look at the bite-sized learning ones, I could pull it up here in a second, but I really want to hammer this home. In that esteem part, it says not only do people want to feel like they're part of the tribe, but they want to feel admired and respected. So in order to build up your own esteem, you have to do things that are admirable and that are respectable in your own eyes. This is where, full circle, you'll always hear me say, how can you ask people to have boundaries with you if you don't have boundaries with yourself? How can you ask people to respect you if you don't respect yourself? Now, how can you ask your wife to admire you and desire you if you're not doing admirable and desirable stuff yourself? And it's not just being like a little bit better. No, it's fucking thriving. It's that confidence, right? That you're walking around like your shit don't stink. And it's not out of pure like, oh, ego boost. No, you're learning how to connect with people, not just your wife. You're learning how to connect with people, which is Socratic. That's a deeply philosophical process that men have used for now thousands of years. My math might be off, but for thousands of years to build yourself up as a Renaissance man. You know how to take on extreme ownership and wade through the storm, right? You understand this holistic part of you, right? In the Air Force, I forget how many pillars there are, but it's like mind, body, spirit, I think social or family or something like that. But you're completing the whole pillars of who you are as a person and learning how to spar, learning how to build that up. And when you can do it for yourself, you can lead other people to do it too. Or just give them suggestions. Just be like, hey, this might help you. Hey, this is a good book. Hey, you might think about it this way. And at first, like if this was your friend, like a good guy friend, and he's like, fuck you guys, like, fuck you, Marks, all of you Marks, all four of you, all three of you. I think there's five actually. Fuck all you Marks. Fuck you, Daniel. Fuck you, Varun. Fuck you, Steve. See you next Tuesday, right? And then next Tuesday happens. And you go, hey, man, I understand why you felt that way. Totally, I got you. What was going on? So on and so forth. Oh, hey, you might want to do this. Fuck you. But you keep doing that for your friend. Eventually, they go, man, you were right. Oh, man, you know what? What was that book that you said? That podcast? What did you tell me? I heard I heard this one thing from this one person. Hey, I told you that. Oh, that was you. Okay. Well, it worked. And eventually those seeds get planted. And you cultivate that relationship. But now you're not so emotionally, obviously, you're not so emotionally invested to where your dopamine starts to rise and fall. But because you're on your purpose, you're on your mission, you have that esteem within yourself to be like, hey, man, I love you as a person. Here's some advice. Oh, here's my opinions on this. Hey, here's this. That person starts looking at you and goes, maybe. Let's see if they practice what they preach. Because everybody's always watching, especially your wife during this process. Whether she says good things, bad things, or neutral, she's watching like a frickin' hawk. Just like how some of you guys go, hey, Noah, she posted this on Facebook. What does that mean? I'm like, it might mean something. It might mean nothing. Same thing when she's looking at you, right? And then you start giving those seeds. And now in this moment where you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to back off, give up, stop. And you keep going and you keep thriving and you're just leaning into it and you're focusing on the practice, you're focusing on that process because this is a skill. You're now an Olympic athlete who's training for the Olympic Games, which is life. Well, that's where the real magic happens, and that's where real things are made. Because then you take a step back and you go, wow, I came from ground zero, came from nothing, and now I made something. And then that self-esteem part, right, down at the trough, now you've done and you have continued and you will do something even more admirable, desirable, respectable, to where no matter what happens, whoever says anything, your wife, other people, they at least admire and respect you for what you're doing. Because now, instead of baseline where everybody else is, you're now leaps and bounds ahead. Sorry, there's a fly. You're now leaps and bounds ahead. Because if you look, like, why do people like Elon? Why do people like Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban? You know, why do people like celebrities, stars? Well, and not every star, obviously, but they think that they're elevated at this position that's so above them that they're like, wow, that's so awe-inspiring, right? But they're just like you. The only thing difference is they probably had some help. They knew some things that you didn't. They took that step forward. It's as simple as that. Like, I tried everything in my power to avoid social media and YouTube. And then I was like, F it. Let's lean into it, to help more people. And it's actually rather quite interesting because when you do that stuff, then when you get to a peak, well, that peak might stay a little longer. And it might feel even better for the both of you because that was earned. Now it's different. What progresses you forward is a gap of where you were to where you are now. And we want that trajectory to be up. So as long as and this is that awesome positive feedback loop. So as long as you're trending upwards, there's no fucking way you can't win. Now, if you start trending downwards, okay. But you know what the real kicker is? And this is why I say you guys got to have conviction and energy. Some fire under your ass. You did that. You have the power to go down, neutral, or up. And it doesn't even matter if it's 2 degrees up. 2 degrees eventually gets higher and higher. The crazy fucking part is it's exponential. It starts building on top of itself. That's why I'm here for you guys to snap you the fuck out of it. Be like, where are your balls? You gotta have energy. Because, like, let's say you have a conversation with your wife and you're like, hey, I've been kind of thinking, I've been thinking that the way that things were and the way that things are, like, I don't like them like that. Well, that's not going to get. She's going to be super skeptical. Whereas if you go, I'll call it, like, my wife's name is Cassie. If I come in and go, hey Cassie, I've been really thinking. I don't want to ever go back to the way that things were. Because right now, I see that we're on this amazing trajectory forward. And I can completely, honestly see that I really fucking hurt you. I probably abandoned you and made you feel like you were worthless. Just like how your uncle made you feel or whatever, right? Connection point. And so I just genuinely want to know. I really want to know. What was it about when I said XYZ that made you feel that way? When you come to the table with that conviction, she's going to be like, what the fuck? Why does this guy have so much energy? She might kind of give you a little skepticism. But you keep showing up like that, she's going to be like, okay, in her mind, where you were is gone. And now you're like slowly up here. Even if she thinks you're all the way down here, right? That's where those preconceived notions comes in. That's where that tally mark of stuff comes in. But as you replace those tallies and you show that real pattern, that speaks volumes, especially during that trough, especially during that little valley, right? No matter how long it lasts. Because I've seen it to where one of our guys, Shane, he amazing dude, very successful dude, really awesome. He was literally at the very last legs of it. 15K, only saw the divorce lawyer fucking twice, which is wild. I can't believe you can make 15K and only see a divorce lawyer that many times. That's crazy. I guess that's why they go to so much school. Good for them, you know. But he just kept going at it, you know. And he was so starkly different. His wife first thought it was stuff down here, got her to open up, eventually got to the process to where she was now going back and forth with him. And now they do couples check-ins all the time for shits and gigs. Because in her mind, he was lost. The man that she knew was completely gone. And he admits it. He was busy with work. He was a pilot as well. So he was just so spread thin. And then it created a controlling nature within him, right? Because he loved his wife. He's actually only ever been with his wife. And so he wanted to protect, right? Everything he built up. And that's what was destroying things. But then, as we taught him all of this, he just took it off, just went through the process. And he had his ups and downs, right? He even, came to certain like his anxiety was starting to physically manifest, right? So we had to help him through that. And it was in that period, right, that I even told him, like, hey, look, part of the Renaissance man mindset, right? What would be 3 things? And then I helped him with a little bit of time piercing. I was like, if you knew 3 things that would help you connect with your kids, don't even focus on your wife, right? To connect with your kids, what would that be? He said a couple things, and then he said, and gardening. I was like, go do it. And then it actually became cathartic for him and allowed him and helped him to go through his stress. And it was within those moments where his wife thought, oh, like, you're supposed to be like down out of your luck, angry, whatever, and you're gardening? And you're connecting with the kids even more because he has an older set and a younger set. They actually both enjoyed it. Like, who is this guy? It's those valleys that matter the absolute most. So when they come, you gotta lean into them and you gotta be like, all right, let's go. Because you have to think about it like that is your training ground. That is where you're going to thrive the most. Because it's easy when things are all dopamine and it's all good. You're like, hell yeah, like, that was great. But when things get to that point where it's your true conviction that shines, and that's what's truly going to make her realize, like, oh, this isn't just some fuck around shit. This is real. That's where everything matters the most. So I just wanted to, I know I kind of stopped typing just because got a little passionate, but I just wanted to really hammer that home, that in those valleys, you have so much gold and so much opportunity. And even if it takes like a little bit of mental gymnastics, and that's what Vox is for, that's what Hot Seats is for. We can go through those mental gymnastics and I can help you rephrase it for you, make doubt itself, right? Like for instance, if, doubt always goes, what if negative? What if positive? Right? Well, what if she leaves and she goes off and gets someone else? Well, what if this is exactly what needs to happen so that you can show her you're irreplaceable and that you're better than everybody else? Well, what if she starts attacking my character? What if she starts yelling and getting all crazy at me? Well, what if she doesn't? What if she does, and that's exactly what you need to prove to her, that your character is unshakable, so that she might not do it again? There's all these little things that you can do, right, to kind of get rid of that negative. And yeah, I can go over some stuff with you guys if you ever need it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of super hammer that home because there's a lot of people in some troughs right now. Well, not even like that low, but they're kind of like in a not high period. And those are honestly the parts that should excite you the most, because it's like, all right, cool, now I can really show up.